America is the greatest country in the world. Thanks for being here. Welcome to our special, Culture Corrupted. Today's special is about culture, and I love talking about culture because we live in one, but we don't even know it. My whole life, I lived in a culture, but never could define it. Never looked at it, never analyzed it, never appreciated it. Took it all for granted. And every time I learn a thing about someone else's culture or my own, I'm just so grateful to be an American. And I want to learn more, and I want to pass this on. It's also fun to see what's right in front of us that we've been missing. There's so many aspects of culture that matter, that define everything in our lives. Everything in our lives. How we value education or not. How we talk, how we dress. The transportation secretary the other day was talking about no longer wearing pajamas on airplanes. All right, we used to dress up nice on airplanes. That's a part of our culture. Was how we view violence, work ethic, how you worship God. It's countless aspects to culture that we're pretty blind to, but we need to be intentional about now, because I assure you, I know that there are culture makers who hate you. And they are very intentional about feeding you and your kids, whether it's slop to numb you or numb your children, or vileness to completely control them. So we need to be intentional, because the culture makers are. I've been thinking a lot about culture recently because we've been talking about immigration on our radio show a lot recently, specifically about Somalia, and how people from Somalia came from a culture and they moved to Minneapolis, Minnesota, that has a culture. So what are these cultures? Well, in Somalia, they come from a culture of corruption. And they bring that culture here. And they moved to Minnesota, a state whose culture was first established by Northern Europeans, Swedes and Norwegians in particular. The Swedes and Norwegians created a culture in Minnesota. Today we call it Minnesota nice. And the Somalians came in with a very different culture. They don't mix. So just to prove who the first settlers were in Minneapolis, do you know the city next to Minneapolis? What's the big city next to Minneapolis? They call them the Twin Cities, right? So what's the one next to Minneapolis? Yeah, but think about that name. St. Paul? The name of the city is St. Paul? Imagine you go to settle a new piece of land and you get there and you're like, all right, what are we going to call this place? And you have a little brainstorming session and you all settle on St. Paul? That's what you go, Paul in the Bible? That's amazing. And Minneapolis, before it's known as Minneapolis, was known as Albion, which is the ancient word for England. So the people who first settled this land that we now call Minneapolis or Minnesota, they called the town England and St. Paul. There were no Somalis there, needless to say. I also love talking about real multiculturalism. Right? When multiculturalism was pitched to us maybe like 30 years ago, when they started talking about it in schools, multiculturalism, it was pitched as, here's how they celebrate Christmas in Russia, and here's how they celebrate Christmas in Australia, and here's how they celebrate Christmas in England, and here's how we celebrate it in America. And they're like, oh, look at that. That's multiculturalism. But what it really was is here's why every other country around the world is amazing, and here's why America's racist. What multiculturalism should have been in our schools is here's why the third world is the third world, and here's how we're not. That's what multiculturalism should have been. For example, Azat, I-Z-Z-A-T. Have you ever heard of this word? This is a cultural concept that is held by people in northern India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, that region of the world. It's sort of like honor, I-Z-Z-A-T, Azat. It's like honor, but it's the idea that all that matters is your reputation, the reputation you have in the eyes of your family and your clan. And you are to do anything necessary to maintain that reputation. And the problem with this system and many honor-based systems is that there's zero concept of right and wrong. It does not exist. There's no such thing. Now, this is very hard for us to think about because our culture says there is a right and wrong. So even learning about other cultures, like, what do you mean there's no such thing as right and wrong? Like, that's crazy. You're a racist. No, like, that's the deal. That's why this is a fascinating conversation. There's no concept of right and wrong in an Azat culture. It's all zero-sum everything, and everything is justified in the name of restoring your Azat. Winning is all that matters. Compare that to America, where we, in our culture, value honesty. We value humility. We value confessing your sins. We value taking responsibility for a mistake or a failure. We admire people because of our Christian ethic. We admire people who have the strength to admit you're wrong. And in a Zot culture, you would never do that. You would never in a million years do such a thing because you would bring incredible shame to your family and to your clan. Just that one difference will send two different groups of people in totally different trajectories. You cannot put them together. The broader category that this is under, I would put it under high trust versus low trust cultures. A high trust culture is what we should be building. I grew up in a high trust culture. My dad always made a big deal that on his way home from work, he drove by a farm stand. And the farm stand, you could buy corn, tomatoes, and there was a little Folgers cup, with the top off, just a Folgers cup there, said, make your own change. And my dad would put $5 in and take $2 out. That's a high trust society. A low trust society, like this picture in the ghetto, has bulletproof glass at the Burger King. This is not good. We want to live in a high trust society. Many cultures around the world are low trust societies. We don't want those here. I want to move on to a little bit different here, but let me just say the four most important books that I've read on culture and the movement of cultures and the clash of cultures. The four books are The Golden Thread, written by this Harvard professor who's now leaving Harvard, actually. He's retiring. The Golden Thread, Guns, Germs, and Steel, Albion's Seed, and Black Rednecks and White Liberals by Thomas Sowell. Those are the big four that I recommend if you want to do a deeper dive into this topic. But this special about culture is not about immigrants. I just want to talk about immigrants. It's good to talk about immigrants because that shows the difference between us and other cultures, right? But I want to talk about our culture, our principles, our ethics, what we're building or destroying. You know, you can't tell immigrants, you're not assimilating, if we don't give them something to assimilate to. So who are we? Who do we want to be? Who do we used to be? That's what we're going to explore on today's show. I'll say this though, the White House put out their national security strategy just recently. It's great, it's 33 pages. It's all excellent. It's defining what America First means in the global context. And it recommits to the Monroe Doctrine. It talks about China and Europe. It's really wonderful. But I want to highlight this one section here, which I was surprised to find here. I mean, this document's about the importance of drones and technology and AI and energy and missiles and borders. Right? It's like all this obvious national security stuff. And then they put this in there. It says, finally, we want the restoration and reinvigoration of American spiritual and cultural health, which without long-term security is impossible. We want an America that cherishes its past glories and its heroes, and that looks forward to a new golden age. We want a people who are proud, happy, and optimistic that they will leave their country to the next generation better than they found it. We want a gainfully employed citizenry with no one sitting on the sidelines, it's a work ethic, who take satisfaction from knowing that their work is essential to the prosperity of our nation and to the well-being of individuals and families. This cannot be accomplished without growing numbers of strong, traditional families that raise healthy children. That's all culture. Strong, traditional families with healthy children taught to cherish their past and aspire to a golden age by living a virtuous life. Like that's amazing. And that's put in the National Security Strategy document. It's only 33 pages, not a lot of room there, but they were sure to put that in there. We have a lot to explore in this hour. Grateful you're here. The first step in creating the culture that we need is to fight against the slop that we're fed. And it's a range. There's slop, which is just unintentionally bad, I guess, all the way to wicked, which is intentionally sinful. I could talk about culture forever. We got to take a break here. We got some great guests here, but this is just supposed to be an intro segment. But so let me wrap it up here. We have a lot of problems in our culture ourselves. Forget about just bringing in Somalis. We have a lot of problems with our culture ourselves that we need to expose and we need to stop. We did a podcast the other day on Isaiah 1, my podcast, Politics by Faith. We did a deep dive on Isaiah 1, a little bit of Isaiah 2. God is very clear. Keep going in this direction, Judah, and you'll end up like Sodom and Gomorrah. Walk in the light, however, and your life will be good. We're not there right now. We're not in the light. We have a overly sexualized, pornographic culture, violence, gambling, totally out of control, selfishness, whatever. Like we're a culture that doesn't value selflessness, doesn't value hard work, doesn't understand even delayed gratification. And if we keep going down this road, it will all crumble very quickly. So we need to be more sensitive to the inputs that are around us and the really dark forces that are trying to bring us down. I cannot believe the music that my parents let me listen to when I was a kid. And video games today are darker than ever. We did a segment on my radio show about Roblox and how it's just a den of pedophiles wanting to prey on your kids. Because when you give your kids an iPad or a video game connected to the internet, you're not connecting them to the world, you're connecting the world to them. You're connecting the world to your kid. We need to be way more sensitive of the evil inputs that we let exist, I should say, that do exist in our culture. We need to make sure that we actively resist them, actively cut them out of our lives and keep them out of our home. And that we actively pursue what is good, beautiful, and true. Our founders, when they were building, they were also preserving. They were preserving something. We're conservative because we want to conserve. But what? What do we want to conserve exactly? A culture. What culture? That's what we're going to talk about here today. Mike Slater, The First TV. Spread the word.
We need a movement that is centered around spiritual, eternal principles. And make America holy again, make America Christian again. But a revival will only happen with repentance, and repentance is at odds with pride. The Constitution is incompatible with a faithless nation. You will not have a free society if the country goes atheist. You will not have a free society if the country goes secular. That sounds provocative, but it's true, is that liberty and freedom cannot coexist with a nation that does not believe in a higher power. Because eventually you're going to want to have some form of meaning in your life, and usually that meaning is left-wing politics. And I'm not trying to pick on all those people chanting out there, because they're actually crying for help, and I mean that. Because how many of them, and I mean this, how many of them do you think go to church on a regular basis? Almost none. And that's not me picking on them. But there's a reason, because they're having a quasi-religious experience right now. They're all chanting at the same time. They feel like they're part of something bigger. They think they're fighting evil, which of course they're not. But there's a religious element to that. When America was at its best, when you didn't march in the streets, but instead you went to the church and bowed before your creator to go find your meaning.
It's actually been a minute since I've heard a Charlie Kirk clip. Pastor Lucas Miles is here. He's the senior director of Turning Point USA Faith, and he's the pastor of Influence Church, and is the author of Pagan Threat, Confronting America's Godless Uprising, and that has a foreword by Charlie Kirk. Pastor, thanks for being here. How much do you miss Charlie?
I think about him every day. Honestly, it's been challenging. I mean, it's been a very difficult 90 days. There's so many good things that are happening. There's so much excitement. There's so much revival. Bible sales up, church attendance up, all the things. But there's this cataract of grief that kind of, clouds a lot of that right now. But, we're doing what Charlie would want us to do. We're moving forward. And, what we saw from that clip, it was Charlie at his best. And you saw that faith foundation, that underlayment of just the gospel behind everything that he did that really motivated and drove him. And I just want the world to continue to be able to hear his voice because it's needed.
Yeah, amen. Turning Point, you are on the front lines of culture and particularly culture among younger people. Let's start with the bad news. How have you seen culture corrupted more recently?
I think that it's evident of just the role that Charlie was playing in holding a lot of things together. But I think that, what we have to recognize is that we have a super deep bench right now. We have a lot of individuals that are stepping up. We have people that are multiplying their voices. I think Charlie, he would always say that courage is easy. All you have to do is say yes. And I think there's a lot of people that are stepping up to say yes right now. Of course, there's noise. Of course, there's distractions. Of course, there's concerns. I mean, 2026, you look at midterms, everything else from a cultural standpoint and a political standpoint, there's a lot of reasons to be concerned about that. And we have to recognize, like, this is when Charlie would remind everybody, guys, this is what happens if we do nothing. This is what happens if pastors don't speak out. This is what happens if people don't get involved. But we have to remember that I think what Charlie's message was is we have the ability, we the people have the ability to change that. And now's our time.
J.D. Vance the other day at a Turning Point event said, listen, there's no neutrality. Like, we thought there was neutrality, but there's not. If you don't put the 10 Commandments up on the classroom wall, it's only a minute before they put the trans pride flag up there. So you think you could support that 1 minute where there's nothing on the wall, but there's not. It's one or the other. So step up and pick one. Can you find, let's start from the very beginning. What is paganism, right? Your book is about this and you define all these different aspects of paganism. But generally, what is paganism that we need to see in our culture?
Yeah, so paganism in general is any sort of alternative spiritual or religious practice that's trying to find a connection to the divine or some sort of, holy energy or spiritual energy outside of the framework of the Bible. And so, we think about other religions that typically don't fall into that, like Islam or Hinduism, but I would argue they're still part of a broader pagan tradition or practice, even in their approach. And so, paganism is really anything outside of Christianity. But what people most commonly think of is the occult, Wiccan, witchcraft, various, shamanism, use of psychedelics to try to have some sort of spiritual practice, druids. These are all pagan practices.
Where do you see it in our culture being pushed?
Yeah, so it's interesting. In this book, Pagan Threat, what I propose is that the revival that we're seeing in paganism is not like the revival we saw after the memorial for Charlie Kirk in Christianity, where people just naturally went back to church and read their Bibles and started pursuing spirituality. This is a bought and paid for revival within paganism. It's an attempt by Marxists to supplant the Christian worldview for the purpose of trying to get Marxist ideas to be better accepted. Christianity and Marxism are antithetical to one another. We saw with the woke churches for a time that Marxism could kind of find a place within Christianity, but eventually you'll either deconstruct from your Christian faith and become a full-on Marxist, or you'll recognize, you start reading the Bible, that Marxism is antithetical to it, and you'll leave it behind. It needed a new vehicle, and that vehicle right now that Marxists are using is paganism. And I think we're seeing that, even with the Red-Green Alliance, as Islam and Marxists are starting to, shake hands again. This is the threat that we're talking about. It's not individual pagans. It is the attempt to supplant Christianity with a pagan worldview.
So I've been reading through Isaiah recently, and it's all about like, hey, Judah, it's pretty bad. He's like, if you keep doing this, you're going to be like Sodom and Gomorrah. Like, are we that bad? Like, how bad was that? Are we Nineveh? Like, where are we on the spectrum of oh man, this is not a good place, America.
Yeah, a couple thoughts there. I mean, the Bible says that when you compare yourselves amongst yourselves, it's not wise. I think that also we have words for you that's like, that when in the end that it's going to be like the days of Noah. It's going to be like the days of Nineveh and Sodom and Gomorrah. We see prophecies that kind of point to that. So my general eschatology is this. I think that the world is going to get darker, and I think the church is going to get brighter. And I think that has to be our framework. We can have a positive view of the phase of history that we're in, that we can have a victorious framework while still recognizing that there's a lot of evil out there, and there's a lot of people that are opposed to the truth and hate the truth, in fact, and they're going to hate you if you stand and resemble those teachings of Christ, but it's really because they hate Christ. And so we have to stand firm. Again, it comes back to that courage thing. We just have to say, yes, here I am, Lord, send me. And you know what? There's a reward in that.
Yeah, I want to ask about a specific solution, but whenever I talk about culture and virtue and, hey guys, let's be more virtuous, and we can be specific, but there's still a little bit that I feel of people like, oh, that's not sufficient. I need more, Slater, because what about that other guy? Those people are the problem. What are we going to do about everyone? Sure, I'll do better at XYZ, but all these other people, what about them? What do you say to that?
I was actually talking to some people about this last night. What the gospel shows us, first off, is that all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. There's no one righteous, not even one. I'm not here standing on the values of conservatism because I'm better than anybody else. What I'm saying is that all of us, apart from Christ, we're all fallen, we're all messed up, and we need to recognize that. When you fall into this place of self-righteousness where you think you're better than the other side, that's a concern. But what I am saying is that the truth that we're standing on is better than the alternative. It is the gospel that we're standing on. It is the foundation of righteousness. It's it's God's word that we are upholding in this, not our own position. Conservatives and even churchgoers, Christians, we have the ability to make some of the same mistakes that you see on the other side. The difference is, where's your hope come from? And this is what prevents people from, calling out people just as being, maybe as kind of two-faced in this approach, or not, practicing what they preach. And so I think that we need to recognize that, look, this is not me saying that I'm better than the other side, but it is saying that the truth behind what we are talking about is the only way that's going to get us the solution that we want, and that is hope in Christ.
Great answer. Last question. What is your advice to people who haven't been to church in forever, maybe never been to church? What's step one? How do you find a good church? I don't know. There's a million churches, and then they get overwhelmed and don't go to any or whatever. What's step one?
I got a great answer for them. So we just launched at tpusafaith.com a new church locator. We're actively populating this. We already have over 1,500 churches across the country. There's one in every single state that's listed. That list is going to be growing. We have about 8,000 churches we're working with right now, so we're going to need each church to individually opt into the map. So expect more to be added virtually every day. But that is a great place to go, tpusafaith.com. Find a local church near you. I'll also make a plug here for the late, great Charlie Kirk. I've got a copy of his book right here. If buy my book, that's great, but buy this one first.
Lucas Miles, TPUSA Faith Influence Church. What's that website one more time for the faith part?
Yep, tpusafaith.com, or you can visit more about me at lucasmiles.org.
Pastor, good to talk to you. Appreciate you. Thanks so much, brother. Come back. We'll talk with Kirk Cameron. Then we'll wrap up with a story that gives me a little hope that, people still know when something is good, beautiful, or true. Like, we see it and we like it. We'll share that coming up as well, right here on the First TV. Spread the word.
Two and a three and a four and a five and a six. How high am I supposed to count?
Just play, Iggy!
Oh, okay.
Hey, Brave Explorers, have you ever ridden a scooter before? These are so much fun. Sometimes we have to learn to be good listeners.
I wasn't listening. Did you say something?
Great things happen when we work together as a team.
We're a team?
Yeah, we're a family.
Oh, that's better.
How can we forget your hatching day, Iggy?
So, you're saying you love me?
Well, no, I didn't exactly say that.
Let's try it again. Very interesting, my dear Iggy.
Yes, very interesting indeed. Yeah, here we go. Whee!
Welcome back to our special about culture in America. I did a segment on my radio show the other day about this new movie, Steps, where the evil stepsisters in Cinderella were actually just misunderstood, and they were actually the kind ones. Just like the Wicked Witch in the West was, she was bullied when she was a kid, and she's actually a good person. Everything in our culture today is an inversion of morality, and we need more clarity. C.S. Lewis, J.R. Tolkien, G.K. Chesterton, they all talked about the importance of children's stories, and I love this line from C.S. Lewis. He said, no, let there be wicked kings and beheadings, battles and dungeons, giants and dragons, and let the villains be soundly killed at the end of the book. Make morality clear, good guys, bad guys, and bring our culture back. And someone doing this in an incredible way, directly to our kids, but the adults are watching too, is Kirk Cameron, executive producer of Iggy and Mr. Kirk Season 2, now available on the Angel app. Mr. Kirk, how are you, sir?
Hey, that C.S. Lewis quote is fire. I have to have that quote. I absolutely love that.
If I could just jump in and throw another log onto that fire. You talked about how the stepsisters are actually the good sisters. And this reminds me, you know what? Evil people are not misunderstood. I was watching a documentary recently about the guy named Timothy something or other years ago. He said that grizzly bears were simply misunderstood. They weren't dangerous. They were just misunderstood. And so he went out into this grizzly bear preserve in Alaska for 10 years to just sort of play with the bears. And everybody knew what was going to happen. And it finally did. One day, he went there with his girlfriend. And when they went to pick him up, all they found were 2 human heads and rib cages. Listen, some stuff is dangerous. You can't just reframe the narrative to make it cute and cuddly. And evil is out there, and we must vanquish it. And I believe that we will if we train our children to be heroes, warriors, filled with self-control and goodness, and we play the long game.
Love all that. And the C.S. Lewis point, but all 3 of those guys wrote stories about, or essays about how important children's literature is. And the whole point is, it's okay to tell kids that there are dragons. Just make sure there's a St. George at the end to kill the dragon. And you too, kid, you little kid, you are that St. George. You can go out and do amazing things and be brave just the same. So tell me about Iggy and Mr. Kirk. For everyone who doesn't know, what is this? Why did you start this show in the first place?
So Iggy and Mr. Kirk is a brand new children's television show being put out by Angel. Those are the folks who've given us The Chosen, and also Brave Plus, a new streaming platform. Think of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood meets Sesame Street for our kids' generation. Building kids' character, strengthening their faith, prioritizing the family, and teaching them that truth actually matters. So I think that C.S. Lewis and Tolkien and Chesterton would love this show because it embraces all of these values and it contextualizes truth, beauty, and goodness into 2025 so that 5-year-olds can understand what it means to be a boy and a girl, what it means to distinguish truth from error, to understand what a family is, what a marriage is, and how to trust God and where to find truth. This is maybe the most important project I've ever worked on because it's picking up the playbook that says train your children in the way they should go, and when they're old, they'll not depart from it. Teach them the good guys and the bad guys. Tell them the stories. This is all of what Tolkien, Narnia, Lord of the Rings is all about. Remember the signs. Remember the signs. Never forget them. Write them down. Teach it to your kids. If you forget them, it is to their great peril. And this is a show that will teach your kids these lessons, and you will be right there along with them as the kids love it. They'll want to see more of Iggy, and you will have an opportunity to use this as a tool in your parenting toolbox.
Can I tell you something I appreciate about the show? I just want to encourage you and all the writers and producers to keep doing this. It doesn't try to capture kids' attention by bright lights and flashes and fast scene cuts and blah-da-da-da-da. It doesn't talk down to our kids like that. It holds attention because it is good, beautiful, and true and entertaining, not because it has scene cuts every 0.2 seconds. Is that intentional?
It is very intentional. In fact, that's one of the things that we researched, and we made sure that we did not do these non-diegetic sounds, like you say, slash, bang, boom, and animal sounds and crazy alien sounds coming from nothing that you see on the screen. And so it chemically and scientifically just freaks out the brain, makes kids ADD worse. All it does is hold their attention so that they can sit through the commercials and mom will go and buy the stuff. But Mr. Rogers never did that. He slowed it down. He talked. He listened. And he always tried to speak the truth. And that's because he was ultimately at heart a Presbyterian minister. And look, if you are an emissary of the devil and all you're looking to do is exploit children for the sake of money, you're going to do whatever it takes. And then you'll somehow con parents into thinking that you're the truth teller and the one who wants to keep the kids safe. Turns out, no, you're Disney. No, you're Nickelodeon or Netflix, and you're exploiting children. We as parents are the guardians of our children's hearts and minds. We are the protectors of their little souls. And so I would say don't trust anybody with your children, not the government, not your church, not even Mr. Rogers or me. But if you can find those who will support your wise discernment and your good values, then know that they are your friends and they are in the battle with you to slay the dragon.
Great. Yes. Tell us about this character that you decided to make a vulture. Who is this guy?
Yeah. So little Iggy is an adorable green 5-year-old iguana that I, Mr. Kirk, am raising in my backyard treehouse. And he's got to learn all the lessons of a little 5-year-old. Here's one that you're watching. He's got to learn about identity, who he is. He's trying to be someone. But that guy in the window is a vulture named Culture. And Culture the vulture, get it, get it? He's always deceiving Iggy, lying to him, trying to tell him that good is evil and evil is good, having him question who he really is. And Iggy's got to learn the truth. And he learns it from his parents. He learns it from God. And that supercomputer that you see on your screen right now, it's like a based, non-woke chat GPT who will always tell Iggy the truth. We got our own mailman, just like Mr. Rogers did. There he is, Dan the mailman, and so many other lovable, great characters. There's Vulture. Kids love to hate him, and so do we.
Yeah, I love that you did that. My first thought when I heard about Culture the Vulture, I was like, that's a little on the nose, Kirk. But so is Pilgrim's Progress. Like, he would have done that.
And
you know?
And
like,
you know
he would have called it Culture the Vulture too and would have loved it. So I think
one
it's
of the
great.
things
I'd like to tell you about Culture is that he's not irredeemable. That's very important for us to remember. Culture can be redeemed. He's not the enemy. He's the opportunity. He's bent and broken and dark-hearted right now, but so are you and I until the light of truth and goodness and beauty invaded it and changed us. And Culture can be redeemed as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. What's one message that we all, adults or kids, are getting, you think, from Culture that is flying under most people's radar, that you would like people to wake up to and be like, oh man, like, we're being fed that? I didn't even realize it.
Yeah. Well, my first thought is that what used to be flying under the radar and being deployed covertly is now being exposed and flaunted openly. So the feminizing and the gayifying of children and culture and sexualizing of little boys and little girls and the grotesque mutilation of the human body and the twisting and perverting of the human soul is happening younger and younger in the institutions that we have been taught to trust, like the medical institutions and the educational institutions and the church institutions. Parents, get on this with both feet. Look what they're doing to your children and the future of our country and the world. If we want hope, we have got to stop outsourcing the sacred role of parenting and education. And we need to be seeing that as our responsibility. And I want to be a friend of yours and a friend of God's in the fight for the healthy hearts and minds of our children.
One last question for you. The puppetry. How do you make these? Who does this? I want the parents who are watching this to appreciate the artistry behind it as well. What's the vision for that, and who pulls that off?
So the scripts are written by the brilliant people at Brave Books who write all the great, cool kids books. And then the puppets are made by a guy named John Kennedy. And John actually worked with Jim Henson. Yeah. Jim Henson with the Muppets and Kermit and Elmo. And he is a world-class, if not the best puppeteer in the world, who does the voices, he makes the puppets, and operates the puppets, including Culture the Vulture. He made Culture and made Iggy and makes all of the rest as well.
It's awesome. You could tell, right? You can tell. You look at it, you're like, oh, that's first class. That's top-notch professionalism across the board, as is your leadership there too. Where can people watch Iggy and Mr. Kirk?
You can see Iggy and Mr. Kirk, both season 1 and season 2 now on Angel. If you've got Angel and love The Chosen, this is right there with it. You can also watch it on Brave Plus, the new streaming platform that contains over 50 kids' TV shows that are vetted by parents, build character, and strengthen faith.
It's great. Kirk, keep it up. Well done. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, man. Take care.
Iggy and Mr. Kirk. Go check it out. We'll wrap up coming up next with a good story that gives me a little hope that we still know deep in our soul what is good, beautiful, and true. We know it when we see it. And it's proof that if we just see it more, then we'll want it more. I'll share that story next right here on The First TV. Welcome back to our special Culture Corrupted. Culture doesn't just matter, it's everything. it's everything. It's all that matters. Everything is defined by culture. And I want to prove that by giving just one data point, just one, of who we used to be. This was a law in Connecticut in 1808. Right? The law says, "Be it further enacted that if any person within this state, having been educated in or having made profession of the Christian religion, shall by writing, printing, teaching, or advised speaking, deny the being of a God, or any one of the persons in the Holy Trinity to be God, or shall assert and maintain that there are more gods than one, or shall deny the Christian religion to be true, or the Holy Scriptures of the Old and New Testament to be of divine authority, and be thereof lawfully convicted before any of the superior courts of the state, shall for the first offense be incapable to have or enjoy any offices or employments, ecclesiastical, civil, or military, or any part of them, and the offices, places, and employments enjoyed by such persons at their conviction shall be void. And such person being a second time convicted of any of the aforesaid crimes shall be disabled to sue, prosecute, plead, or maintain any action or information in law or equity, or be guardian of any child, or executor of any will, or administrator of any estate." All right. I'm not saying we need to reenact that 1808 Connecticut law in the United States or in any other particular state. Just look at this from a 30,000-foot sociological, historical perspective. Let's go to 30,000 feet here and just analyze the situation. Here's a plot of land that we call America that in 1808 had such a culture that said, if you deny the Holy Trinity of God and Jesus and the Holy Spirit, for instance, then you cannot hold any political office. And on a second offense, you are totally cast off and away from all civil society. You can't even be the guardian of any children, lest you poison them with your hedonism and blasphemy. All right. Okay, so here's this place that they called Connecticut in 1808. Here's what they believed. Here's a law they passed. Now, here's Connecticut, that same piece of land, different people living on it, same piece of land. Here's what those people now believe. It's very different. Now we can say if it's better or worse, and we can have that conversation. But first we need to acknowledge that it's different. You know, in the opening segment, we compared the culture of America with the culture of Somalia. Okay, very different. But the culture of America today with the culture of America 200 years ago, very different. And it's our job to figure out what's better, because that's the best part about culture, is it can change. You can change it. You can look at the culture of a group of people. You can look at the culture of a country. You can look at the culture of your family. You can change it. Just change it. Right now. Just be different. Look at other cultures and be like, oh, I actually like that. That's a good thing. I want more of that. I always point to like Japanese culture, how they view their elders, right? With great esteem. That's good. We should do more of that. And then there's other aspects of our culture that are very bad we should get rid of. And we change it. I want to share and end with the story of Ed Bombas. Have you heard this story? Why did this story speak to so many people? Here's the original Instagram video that went around the world.
Just seeing if I could have help scanning this. Thank you. What was your name?
Ed.
I'm Sam.
Okay.
I actually had someone nominate you from this store and said you're very hardworking.
Well, I try to be.
May I ask how old you are?
I'm 88.
And still working?
Yes, I have to.
Why do you have to keep working?
Retired from General Motors in 99. 2012 I went bankrupt and they took my pension away from me.
Oh my gosh. Do you have a wife?
She passed away 7 years ago.
7 years ago.
She was sick when I lost my pension.
So you've been struggling a bit?
A little bit.
You said that you lost your pension?
Yes, sir, I did. I was in the Army back in 66.
So you're a veteran too?
Yes. The thing that hurt me the most was my wife was real sick. And they, when they took the pension, they also took the health care coverage.
Yeah.
And all but $10,000 of my life insurance.
Oh my gosh.
So I sold the house, sold the property I had, and we made it through. My wife died 7 years ago. Since then, I've been trying to reestablish myself.
And you're working here how many days a week?
I work 5 days a week, 8 hours a day.
And you do that because you have to, or
Yeah, I don't have enough income
what's your dream?
to live somewhat the life I was hoping for.
Like to share your story and try and, get people to help you retire?
Well, thank you.
Of course. You're amazing. I want to give you $400 here as a tip. Of course. You're amazing,
Thank you.
man. Of course.
I don't know what to say.
wanna know
It goes a long way to help me.
Give you a hug?
Yeah, thank you.
Lots of love.
I want to know who nominated Ed. Okay, so why did that speak to so many people? They opened up a GoFundMe and people donated $2 million. Why did that connect with so many people? If I had to pick a couple things. First, gratitude. You saw the gratitude he had at $400. He wasn't saying, well, give me more, right? Just amazing gratitude. We appreciate that. He was a victim of an injustice, but he wasn't whining. Right? He said, we made it through. Injustice taken away his pension and all the rest. He's a hard worker. So we still value people in America who work hard and again, don't complain. Right? He said, you got to do what you got to do. Or you do what you got to do. He said in another interview I saw that he went to work also, he decided to be as friendly as he could to everyone he met because that was the best thing to take his mind off of any depression because of his wife's death. That's what he said. So there's true love as well. So we have 4 points of culture that we value in America still. $2 million worth. Perseverance, gratitude, hard work, true love. Ed Bombas is a great example of what America used to be. But the good news is we clearly still value it today. We yearn for it in America. We want that still. We all want to be like Ed. We want everyone else to be more like Ed. We want to be around people of gratitude. We want to see people persevere. We admire this man's work ethic. And we tear up at his love for his wife. Thank goodness. Isaiah 5:20 says, woe to those who call evil good and good evil, who put darkness for light, light for darkness, bitter for sweet, sweet for bitter. At least in this story, we can see that people are still calling good, good, and can still see good and understand and appreciate that it is good. Here's to more of that. I have a podcast called Politics by Faith. You can download it anywhere you listen to podcasts. We take the news of the day, run it through a biblical filter, and I think you'll enjoy it. Politics by Faith, wherever you listen to podcasts. Mike Slater, The First TV. Spread the word.